So in my latest video, I interviewed a rape survivor who used to be left-wing, and we talked about how it changed her political beliefs. Well, here are some of the comments the video got from the alt-right. I'm not sorry for you, cunt. It will be a good lesson for you, and it should be for any progressive liberal morons out there. Your votes and your ideology caused this. You merely reap what you sow. I'd much prefer a left-wing woman being raped than a right-wing woman. SJWs deserve to get culturally enriched. This woman is like a Jew that supported Nazis and only changed her mind when she was sent into the gas chamber personally. That's not at all respectable. That's called willful ignorance and selfishness. I don't feel sorry for anyone supporting mass migration from the third world getting victimized by the very people they helped bring in. Why the hell should I? Who could possibly deserve more hate? The people that open the floodgates and keep them open. The ones openly celebrating the destruction of native European cultures and nations. Who is the self-declared enemy? Leftists. Women who vote pro-immigration deserve to be raped because they are the ones importing the rapists. It's not that fucking difficult to understand. She got what she deserved for being a feminist and leftist pushing for these immigrants. Feel bad for the dude that had a child with her. As far as I'm concerned, every and any goody two-shoes welcoming refugees into our once glorious white nations deserve what's coming to them in terms of cultural enrichment. Male or female doesn't matter in that regard. Reap what you sow. You know, the whole victim blaming thing is really interesting because some people will be like, oh well, what were you wearing? With the alt-right, instead of what were you wearing, it's what were you thinking? What were your political beliefs? And both of those things are based on personal opinion. So it's like, what else could someone do that you disagree with that would result in them deserving rape? I mean, aren't you just opening up a whole can of worms with that type of logic? It's kind of like when communist armies moved into Nazi Germany and raped millions of women because they were on the wrong side. Because they weren't communists. Because they had fought the communists. Because when the German people voted for the Nazi party, they had it coming. They voted for it. They were traitors to the people. Personally, I don't think anyone deserves rape ever. Even if a woman is the cuntiest cunty cunt, you don't rape her. Because that makes you into something bad. And you don't fucking defend that shit either. You don't relativize it. You don't make up excuses for it and thus give it room to be enabled. Because when you make up excuses for rape, rapists will use those excuses as well to justify their actions. Like if you read up on the psychology of rapists, a lot of them find different ways to rationalize their behavior. Oh well, she did this, this, and this, and that gave me the impression that, and I raped her. So nobody should try and make up excuses for rape or try to find mitigating circumstances or factors, because that really does enable rape. It helps rapists. It gives them a social climate where they can kind of be understood. So the alt-right is kind of laying the foundation for their very own rape culture here. It's not because she's a single mother that she got raped, it's because she's a leftist regressive cunt that supports mass migration and her politics ended up fucking her literally. At this point, a voice of reason popped up and said, "You're attacking a rape victim. You do realize that, don't you?" To which the alt-righter replies, "Yeah, I am. She deserves it. Her actions and politics caused this, as well as the numerous rapes of other women. She's not the victim. She's the collaborator of the perpetrator. Also, she's a single mother, so her child is fucked." That's very nice, dude. Very classy. So that's what's needed to red pill women. Ha! We need more Muslims. Single moms versus frustrated migrants. No one should give a shit. People who get raped as a result of letting in sand niggers, commies, and muzzies into their property and the common land to infringe the rights of their countrymen deserve what they get. I have no sympathy. She chose to let these subhumans in, knowing the damn consequences. A vote is an act of power which is backed by force, and she supported the use of force by the monopoly of security and the state to enable the trespass of these niggers and degenerates. Frankly, this whore should be in jail as well for forcing such niggers trespass on the land of others and thus endangering them and aggressing upon them. So this guy wants to put a rape victim in jail. Huh, I wonder where I've heard of that happening before. Oh yeah, that's right, Dubai. Imagine if the alt-right actually gained political power and were allowed to enforce their ideas. Not only would they put journalists in jail, like Richard Spencer has said before, they might put rape victims in jail too, for being raped by the wrong skin color. Imagine what courts would look like in that system. Instead of the "what were you wearing" question, you would get "what was your political ideology before you were raped?" This guy writes, I'm sorry for this woman for 3 reasons. Number 1, she had to undergo brain surgery. Number 2, she was raped. Number 3, she is as stupid as all hell. She suffers from the number 1 Western world disease for women. She has no character and no personality. Period. Wow, I really gotta love how this guy took a rape case and manages to use it into an argument against all women. At some stage you have to fight and have nothing but hate and retaliation for a predator when you are a victim. We are human beings with feelings for at least hundreds of thousands of years. Sitting around and thinking and empathizing about the predator is making yourself an asshole! You know, reading this comment, I just think that it's so easy to be judgmental. It's less easy to look at the actual fucking reality and research when it comes to rape and just put your bullshit bias aside. Yes, ideally, every woman should be a pro MMA fighter that can just completely violate her biological programming and not freeze due to fear and not care about her life and well-being and safety. I mean, that's why people go along with the rape, because they're fucking scared, they're terrified, they just want to survive, they don't want to be hurt. But this guy just has to take social Darwinism and go full retard with it. Let's move on. This guy directly addresses the victim to say, you deserve what happened. It's assholes like you that caused these problems in the first place, and you only change your mind when it literally fucked you personally. Well, rape isn't sex. It's an attack. It's abuse. It's assault. But I certainly see why a misogynist of this rank would think otherwise. Wow, dude, I liked all your other videos, but you just act like a smug little bitch in this one. Sorry, people. If you actively protest for and vote for mass migration, not only do I have no sympathy for you reaping what you sow, but I hold you just as responsible for all the other rapes and murders that happen as well. Leftism is a toxic ideology, almost as toxic as Islam. The irony in this guy saying that Islam is toxic while having the same view on rape victims as radical Muslims, I can't even do that justice with words. But whatever, let's move on. Do I believe that pro-immigration leftists deserve to be victimized by the migrants that they campaign for and defend? No, not at all. At the same time, they are directly responsible for their actions and the consequences their actions have on innocent people. Not indirectly, but directly responsible. Blah, 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 blah. Oh my god, this is a huge comment. Ends with, a year later, some pro-tiger people get attacked and their families get eaten by the tigers. Do you think all the other people in the neighborhood are just gonna forgive them for everything they did? Are they just going to forget that this person is directly responsible for all the other tiger victims? No fucking way. So, you wrote this much text to justify your idea of revenge rape? And you even felt it was so important to explain why women deserve rape that you threw in a little animal metaphor at the end there, just like Georgie Orwell. Do you realize what a retard you are? Immigrants aren't tigers. I've made plenty of videos about the non-European overrepresentation in rape before, but that's precisely what it is, an overrepresentation. That doesn't mean that most, or even half of migrants are rapists. So your metaphor makes you look like a complete fucking idiot. Tell me, dumbass, are most tigers law-abiding citizens that try to get jobs and don't hurt other people? In a lot of Indian villages, they know that tigers are a threat, but they don't go around killing them. So what is that? Is that like silent blame? If we don't kill every wild animal in the world and we are enabling murder, and we should feel bad and guilty for all the murders that accidentally happen. Is that what you're trying to get across here? Let me read this article out loud. Muslim in Norway rapes his daughter because she's too Western. The alt-right is the same thing. They wouldn't rape someone themselves, but they will cheer when other people do it if the victim has the wrong ideas. For Muslims, it's Western ideas. For alt-righters, it's leftist ideas. Remember that guy in the beginning of the video who went, "Oh, I wouldn't feel like this if she was right-wing." Well, that's awfully reminiscent of, "Oh, I wouldn't feel like this if she wear a burqa." Now, this is the most mild-mannered and courteous victim blamer I've found thus far, so keep in mind that this comment I'm about to read was the most polite one. I'm sorry, but you women as a whole brought this upon yourselves. You were the ones telling us that we're patriarchal white racist pigs for years now. Women are the ones who mostly bought into this bullshit idea that we're all the same. I don't know if I really want to protect most white women anymore, to be honest. Fuck you, LMAO. Females seek out novelty in sexual relationships. I guess it subconsciously turns you on letting in a bunch of depraved primitive males, because in your childish imagination it will be all fun and games. Isn't it like that? I'm not trying to shame anyone, I'm not a big moralist when it comes to sexuality, etc. But isn't that kind of the reality? You women like feminism because it gives you power to play with men. Unfortunately, this rampant individualism in our society will be our decay. If you want primitivism back, then don't cry when you get raped. Obviously, I'm not saying that this particular individual has necessarily brought this upon herself, but women on average did. Yes, she should get support, but this is a very good case against feminism and their propaganda for respecting women. Is this guy Black Pigeon Speaks? Because it makes me think of that disgusting video he did where he basically implied women somehow enjoy getting raped. Now, this is a comment on my behavior and mentality, and he says, number 1, be nice guy. Number 2, interview former shitlib who was culturally enriched. Number 3, use that as cover for shit-tier strawman of the alt-right. 4, profit. Yeah, because pointing to a serious issue with misogyny in the alt-right is a straw man, right? You know how you guys would have reacted if you saw a group of Muslims typing this kind of shit online. So why are you so pathetic that you can't even maintain the same standards for everyone? It's not that hard to do. It's also funny how these crypto-Nazis will bitch about getting victimized and unfairly strawmanned, while at the same time saying that all Muslims are tigers and potential terrorists. That's not a straw man. It's just interesting hypocrisy to me. When we see a group of Muslims typing this kind of shit online, we have no problem drawing the conclusion that there's something wrong with their culture and group mentality. Sure, most of them are probably okay, but culture can still affect a sizable minority in a bad way, and that's a problem. But when it comes to white nationalists, it's just dishonest argumentation tactics, huh? So when a few Muslims are radicals, it means all of them are shit. But when a few alt-righters are misogynist, hey, that doesn't represent anything. If this is just a small fringe of assholes, then how come a sizable portion of the alt-right doesn't believe in voting rights for women? The misogyny of the alt-right stretches a bit further than rejoicing rape. The radical ones will blame victims, whereas the moderate ones just want to remove their right to vote. How are any of these acceptable positions to hold? Here's another 2 people objecting to what I said in the video. Comparing alt-right to mudslimes is below the belt. Alt-right is a big group of various people that aren't even sure about what actually is alt-right, and you can't just blast them all because misogyny and women. Really? Well, Muslims are a big group of various people that aren't even sure what actually qualifies as Islam. You can't just blast them all because you don't like what some of them think. So that's your logic, not mine. And the fact that you can't even see this hypocrisy yourself proves that the alt-right is nothing more than a cult. This other comment goes, it's funny how the 2 of you talk about the alt-right like it's a hive mind group where she had to stand before some alt-right judge who spoke to her in a courtroom and gave her the ruling that you likely voted for it so you deserve it. I sympathize with her story, but I understand now why people are calling her an idiot. There will always be assholes in any group, and when you combine anonymity and the internet, you get retarded comments, some of whom would probably not even consider themselves alt-right. Okay, I find it pathetic how alt-righters are getting more butthurt over a sweeping generalization when they themselves make sweeping generalizations all the time, calling people libtards, SJWs, cocks, snowflakes, etc. And instead of addressing these ugly comments, they're just distancing themselves from the problem and whining about how they are unfairly perceived. Didn't do nothing, huh? It reminds me of the way leftists talk about Islam every time there's been a terror attack. Hashtag not all alt-right. The fact that this person would even bitch like that, even when we made it clear in the video that the alt-right has showed her support as well, proves that you're just so fucking butthurt you can't even think clearly. I made it clear that there's a diversity of opinion within that group. I mentioned how Millennial Vose gave her sympathy as well. Clearly, not all of the alt-right is like this, but how does that negate their misogyny problem? This is not just a few comments. This is something I've seen on the internet so many times, I'm fucking sick of it. Whether it's this video, forums, or other videos I've uploaded on my channel. You people will cheer videos where I criticize the left with the same type of ruthless honesty, but when the same thing is applied to your group, you just bitch about how unfair my criticism is. Well, you loved my argumentation tactic when it was someone you dislike, but you don't like it as much when I'm pointing out the chink in your armor, do you? So you don't actually like honesty and critical thinking. You dislike people approving your personal biases, and if that doesn't signify a lazy-minded person, I don't know what does. Sarah says, it's laughable to suggest that men in the alt-right are supposed to go out of their way to help white women who overwhelmingly vote to bring in more Somalians. First of all, it's Somalis, not Somalians. Second of all, nobody is asking these men to be knights in shining armor. I'm just talking about common decency here. A person doesn't stop being a human because they don't share your political beliefs. That type of dehumanization is precisely what I can't stand with the left. And clearly, it's present in the alt-right too. And it really makes you think, like, how do these type of men actually work? Like, let's say you're walking in a park and you notice that a woman is being raped by some dune coon. You yell something and you run over and you save her and the perpetrator runs away. At that point, is your first question to this woman, hey, what political party do you vote for? And if she says, I voted for the left, do you call back the rapist migrant and let him finish? Because that seems to be your morality here. Third of all, I thought that the alt-right actually cares about white people. But you mean to tell me that they only care about white people so long as they're Holocaust-denying white nationalists, which the absolute majority of white people aren't? That must mean that the alt-right isn't a movement for white people. It's simply a movement for white regressives, who are merely using their skin color to try and bring in all white people when they don't actually represent all white people. And that's why the alt-right is useless as a solution. They might have identified some of the problems in society, but their solutions would just create new problems. Because their solutions stem from the same type of collectivism and identity politics that created our current problems to begin with. White guilt and white pride are different sides of the same coin. There is a way out of this which doesn't compromise the quality of ideas, but such an issue is far too complex to cover here, so that will have to be another video. But let me put it this way, it's not for nothing that white Sharia actually became a thing with you guys. And this brings us to Lauren Southern. It's now been revealed that she once had a brown boyfriend or two, and the alt-right fans aren't taking these news very well. Why would she degrade her like this? Are her parents divorced? Filthy little shackle-grabbing, swindling, degenerate whore, utter scum. This guy says that she's tainted and needs to repent, and this other guy says that we should just stop listening to her because she dates non-whites and admits she's a Jew. This guy lost respect for her, and another one is just disgusted. Huh. Do you see the problem here? These people don't care about ideas. They care about anything other than ideas. Basically, they just have some weird OCD thing going with skin color. That's all the alt-right really is. I mean, Lauren Southern is pretty fucking right-wing. She's basically alt-right. Nobody has ever called her out on it. But the type of stuff she's talking about, like the type of values she's exclaiming, typical alt-right shit. And yet the alt-right rejects her because their purity tests are so ridiculously high, they're just useless as a movement. They're never gonna go anywhere because it doesn't take much to be considered a traitor according to them. Now, if you're wondering why I'm so harsh towards you people, it's because you're fucking embarrassing. I brought this woman on my channel to give her a voice and show her some support, and this is what you barrage her with? You don't have anything to offer me other than soiling the name of my channel and my followers. You make my channel and my fans look like shit. People who are about to get red-pilled are gonna read this shit and be like, oh, wow, maybe I did choose the wrong company after all. This rape victim even said that she's gonna vote for the far-right party next election. So how long does she have to atone for her sins before you accept her? This kind of bitterness is not a trait of rational, empathizing people. This is someone who is deeply unhappy and miserable. Why would people want to be near someone like you? You people are so fucking dumb that you can't even prioritize results over your ideology. Any rational person capable of empathy would be able to understand that these are stupid comments to make. Even if you do hold these opinions about rape victims, the only thing flaunting them could possibly achieve is to discourage women from speaking out, which isn't in your best interest. But who cares about results when you're a right-wing social justice warrior, right? You people are a fucking cancer and a joke as a movement. Nobody in their right mind will ever take you seriously because even less radical people in the alt-right don't even bother trying to clean up their own ranks. You give Muslims and leftists so much shit for not speaking out against their extremists and taking responsibility for their community, while you yourself pour out all of this retarded shit, and when someone calls you out on your bullshit, you just go, never punch right. Don't ever punch right, bro. That's not cool. Don't punch right. Stop being a cock. We need a new kind of Hitler to eradicate Muslims and their death cult bullshit. As the angry foreigner goes out and kills Muslims, he's not protecting women, you fucking moron. A white woman with a non-white man is by default a subhuman. If women feel entitled and emancipated, let them get raped until they bleed out of their feminist pussies. Why would I care for those degenerate whores? Packies and niggers belong in zoos. Ah, well, that's charming.